What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR here to bring you another solid episode of my weekly Q&A show, Title People's Questions, episode 248. We got a pretty standard episode with a pretty standard set of questions from, I believe, all regulars. However, I think there might be one or two newbies on here, but I'm not entirely sure. Let's jump right into it with the first question. Surprisingly, someone beat him to it, and that is HydroBlood881. And you want to know, if I could write a trilogy of Star Wars novels based on one character, detailing their journeys, who would it be and why? Well, HydroBlood, there's only one character I could think of that I think would make a more interesting trilogy of novels, and that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've been saying this for years. Obi-Wan Kenobi, since the prequels, has been my favorite character throughout the entire franchise. Ewan McGregor's performance of Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite performance of any actor in any Star Wars movie. And there's about a 20-year gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And so the question is, what was Obi-Wan Kenobi doing? Now, many people would say, oh, he was constantly looking after Luke. But we know for a fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't just sit on his ass for 20 years. He actually did leave Tatooine a number of times to go do other little assignments. So I would do a novel based on that. And I think that in this current era, you could easily tie them in with the rest of the canon. We know that if you're watching Star Wars Rebels, you know that Ezra and Maul are aware that Obi-Wan Kenobi is the key. I think they know at that point that he is on Tatooine, but maybe there's a possibility that during their travels they happen to run into him while he's doing his own little assignment. I mean, if you even go even further into the Legends canon, with the story of Old Wounds, you find out that Maul finds out about Luke Skywalker, goes to attack him and Uncle William, and that's what kind of causes Obi-Wan Kenobi to kind of come out of hiding for a little bit, and they have the final confrontation. There's just so much you can do with Obi-Wan Kenobi in that time frame. And not only do I think it would make a great set of novels, but as many people want, it would make a great set of movies. So that's why I would pick Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can't pick any other character better than Obi-Wan Kenobi to do a trilogy of novels and movies. But heck, that's just me. Next question comes from Santos Scarpino. Sorry, looks like you got beat. And you want to know, do I think that Resident Evil 5 went a bit too far with the action? No. I don't think that happened until Chris's campaign in Resident Evil 6. People might think that it went a little bit too far into action. And I think the reason they say that is because they added co-op. When you add co-op into a horror game, you kind of take out a bit of the horror aspect because you're no longer by yourself. This is an issue that I think Dead Space 3 also had, except the difference between Dead Space 3 and what Resident Evil 5 did is that Dead Space 3 gave you the option to have co-op. You could play the game entirely solo if you wanted. Resident Evil 5, you had an AI partner. But no, I don't think it went too far, at least not until probably the final chapter. Because for the most part, you're kind of just taking on basic enemies that you would encounter, at least at this point in time in the franchise. I mean, you're going through villages, you're going through ruins, you're going through tribe camps. These are areas that I think would work very, very well in a survival horror game. And I think that up until probably the last chapter, when Wesker really starts losing it, I thought the game was actually relatively good. I really overall enjoyed Resident Evil 5 very, very much. And I would defend it to my last breath. So, no, I don't think it went too far with the action. Next question comes from Matt Cruz. He wants to know, who do you prefer, Jason Bourne or James Bond Daniel Craig version? Probably Daniel Craig's James Bond probably would take down Jason Bourne, simply because James Bond can act like a total fucking psychopath. I mean, did you guys see him in Quantum of Solace? He's just a murdering psycho, just killing people every left, right. And I think that in terms of fighting skills, they're somewhat on par. But I think what James Bond has over Jason Bourne is his ingenuity. And it's not to say that Jason Bourne doesn't have ingenuity. I mean, he's really good at using the environment to his advantage, but James Bond can be a lot more creative. And I think that's just something that Jason Bourne just doesn't do. And I think that as he's gotten older, he has kind of gotten a little bit stale, as opposed to James Bond, where with age he just gets much more deadlier. So I would definitely pick Daniel Craig's James Bond over Matt Damon's Jason Bourne. Next question comes from Macho Wesker 17. You want to know, which character in Resident Evil series do I think has the hardest adventure based on enemies they fought, their skills and experience at the time of said adventure? Okay, it's going to come down to Leon or Chris Redfield. And as much as I hate to say it, without question, I think the Capcom's had the hardest is Chris Redfield. When I really analyze what he has been through, from Resident Evil 1 to Code Veronica to Dark Side Store, from Umbrella Chronicles to Resident Evil 5 to Resident Evil 6. If I really, and heck, even going into Resident Evil Revelations, he was in there for a good amount of time. He has simply had the much more extensive history of elevated threats. And that's not to say that Leon hasn't, because I think that in a straight up fight, Leon would absolutely win. But trust me, anyone who takes down Wesker is unmatched. I don't even think Leon would be able to take down Wesker on his own, or even with someone like Ada. So I think that would give Chris the definitive advantage, at least in terms of experience and who had a harder time over the course of their career. I would definitely pick Chris Redfield. Your next question comes from Mr. Wong. I'm sorry, I know I have a hard time with your name. And he wants to know, did I like Resident Evil Code Veronica? Wow, a lot of Resident Evil questions today. I wonder why. And just to let you guys know, no, I have no plans on playing the Resident Evil 7. I have no plans. Not even gonna think about it. But did I like Code Veronica? Yeah, I thought it was okay. It definitely is a lot more old school style, reminiscent of like Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3, which I'm not really a big fan of, but I was able to get through it and play it. Not the best story, but I think that there were definitely some story elements that I really did appreciate. So yeah, overall, I liked it. The next question comes from Michael Beelan, and he wants to know, if Hideo Kojima did not want to regain the rights to Metal Gear Solid franchise, who do I think would be the next best company or game director to own the rights of this franchise? If Hideo Kojima didn't want it, I would give it, surprisingly, to Naughty Dog. As much as I hate Naughty Dog for The Last of Us, I think that in terms of quality of story, in terms of game development, I can't think of any other team that will be able to treat it with as much respect. I mean, you guys know how I feel about The Last of Us. I mean, it's in the blacklist. And hell, The Last of Us 2 is already in the blacklist and the game's not even done. But I will acknowledge that when it comes to storytelling, character development, driving a story, creating innovative gameplay, adding new gameplay elements, and creating a challenging and fun experience, I think that Naughty Dog could make a very impressive Metal Gear Solid game. I don't think it would have Kojima's charm, but I think that if they decide to reboot the franchise and start fresh, I think that we could get something very, very special in that world. So I pick Naughty Dog, surprisingly. The next question comes from J-Bat, and you want to know, do I think that video game violence inspired Dylan Roof, the shooter of the Charleston Church Massacre? You know, they've been talking about this for years, that video game promotes violence. I don't think that's the case. I think the guy was just crazy because, I mean, look at me. I'm a guy that likes blowing people's heads off. I like decapitating people. I like mutilating people. I mean, you're talking about a guy that loves Mortal Kombat, loves just so many violent video games, and yet if you were to meet me out in the street just on any random day, you would think I was just the nicest person. You would never believe I was into all this insane violence, and yet I'm perfectly fine. I mean, heck, I've been killing people playing Mortal Kombat since I was 5 years old, and I think I turned out pretty alright. I think the problem with people like that is they have a hard time separating reality from fiction. I can do that I can do that relatively easy. There's so many things in video games that I never would wish to be real. I mean, that would be just terrible. So, no. I think it's just a possibility that he just either couldn't tell the difference, or maybe he just thought maybe shooting people is a fun thing to do. Shooting people is never a fun thing to do, ever. I mean, I've never killed anyone or shot anyone, and even I know that's a terrible thing to do. However, I can do it like it's second nature in any video game. So, no, I don't believe video games inspired anything. I don't really think video games inspired any of these shootings that we've ever had. I think it's just a matter that these kids are just messed up, crazy, and they just feel like, heck, maybe if I just go run and shoot people, heck, make me feel like a badass, which is completely false, because you'll end up dead, and then no one, you know, all you've done is cause pain. Pain to yourself, pain to your family, pain to the family of your victims. That's never a good thing. Next question comes from Tom Wash, and he wants to know, should I try using Noctis in a versus series in the future, and you would like to see Sora? Yes. I'll say that, yes. Anyone who wants to know a little bit update, yes. Probably going to the next season, as they're currently working on the rematch for Delson versus Cole McGrath. Going into Season 4, absolutely. You will definitely be seeing at least the main 4 characters in Final Fantasy 15 making an appearance in the Versus series. Those characters are just too well defined to not use in a Versus series. The question is, who should be their first opponent? I might even do their matches in a row. That's how much I enjoyed that party. So yes, you can look forward to seeing them in a future Versus series matchup. Next question comes from Iron Tagger, and you want to know, who do I think would win in a fight between Striker from Mortal Kombat and Leon as Kennedy? Note, while Leon has fought zombies, Striker has also fought beings that Leon has never fought. So Striker versus Leon. I think Leon would still win. Striker, don't get me wrong, I mean, Striker's got some credit because he does fight in the tournament, so he's, his resume is somewhat impressive. But I don't think he's fought anyone who had as much ingenuity as Leon. I mean, anyone who could deal with Krauser could easily deal with Striker. I mean, don't get me wrong, Striker gonna get his hits in, but I think that Leon's training as an agent definitely puts him above Striker, who was just based as a normal cop who's got a baton and a gun and maybe a couple grenades. That's nothing that Leon hasn't already dealt with. I mean, heck, Leon was a cop at one point. So the fact that he would have a much more combatively tactical mind than Striker means that there's not really much that Striker could throw at him that would catch Leon off guard. And the last question of the episode comes from Brandon Williams. He wants you to know, what are my thoughts on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and what characters do I want to see? I personally don't care about characters in Marvel vs. Capcom because I'm not a fan of Marvel vs. Capcom. I think I maybe played one of those games once. I'm not a fan of Capcom's style of fighting. I'm not a Street Fighter fan. I'm not a Marvel vs. Capcom fan. I'm a Mortal Kombat fan, or I should say another Realm Studios fan. So I don't really have anything to say. I don't plan on playing it, so I don't really care what characters they throw in it. And with that, those are the questions that you guys sent in for this week. I'd like to thank all of you guys for sending your questions in. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to keep track of me of my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.